Hello everyone, welcome to Lakshya Institute of Professional Studies. So here is your friend, mentor and coach for the CA final paper number 3, Advanced Auditing and Professional Ethics. So today here we are with another lecture on dividend chapter, right or not? It is one of the, you cannot say one is that too important, but yes, one of the finest chapter what you have in your CA final curriculum. So as we all know that we have already completed the company audit part, where we have already covered the section number 128 to section number 137, and we have also covered the section number 139 to section number 148. Now the last set of sections which we are left with, what we have to cover is relating to dividend part, right? So let us understand what are the sections we have to cover. So these are the various sections which we have to cover in the dividend part. So you can see the section numbers, section number 123 to section number 127. So let me first introduce you the sections. Which section is going to give us what? Now when we talk about the section number, and what is the particulars, what are the provisions we have to do in the section. So we have kept one section number column and one particular. So section number 123. What is section number 123? In the section number 123, what we'll understand? We'll understand what do you mean by the word called dividend. We'll understand what are the sources for payment of dividend. What are the sources for payment of dividend? We will also understand what are the adjustments. What are the adjustments to be done before making the payment of the dividend? And most importantly, we are going to understand what if free reserves are used. What if free reserves are used for payment of dividend? Everyone clear? So this is what the section number 123 is going to give us an idea about. Then sir, section number 124. What is section number 124? It is known as unpaid and unclaimed. What is the name of the section? Unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. The name of the section is known as unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. So when we'll understand the process of making the payment of the dividend, there we'll understand what do you mean by unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. Clear? Everyone clear? Yes sir, we are clear. Now see, next we have section number 125. What is the next section we have? 120, a very important section. It is known as investors education and protection fund. If you remember, while doing section number 143 subsection 3 in the company audit, there we understood one of the others matters in the other statutory and liquidity legal requirements paragraph, that whether the company has successfully transferred the balance to the IEPF fund or not. So all those provisions we are going to understand. So it is known as investors education and protection fund. Then we have section number 126. So what is section number 126? Section number 126 talks about what? Keeping dividend in abeyance. Keeping the dividend in abeyance. So what is this section number 126? It talks about what? Keeping the dividend in abeyance. Sir, what do you mean by abeyance? When we'll come to the section number 126, there I will clear you what do you understand by the term called abeyance, right? Then we have section number 127, which is the last section. It is known as penalty on company. It is a penalty on company on non-payment of dividend. Penalty on the company on non-payment of dividend. Non-payment of dividend within 30 days from its declaration. Within 30 days from its declaration. So what is the penalty the company will be paying? What is the fine company will be paying? What will be the penalty on the officers in default of the company if the particular dividend which is already declared in the AGM, if it has not been paid within the 30 days from its declaration? So these are the list of sections which we have to do. So in total 5 sections we have to do. Section number 123, section number 124, section number 125, section number 126 and section number 127, right? So let us start with the first section then without the fail. Chalo, let us understand the section number 1 first. What is the first section we have to understand? Section number 123. Very huge section, but very important section. First of all, we have to understand what is the definition of the dividend. Now, as per section number 2, subsection 34, as per section number 2 of Companies Act 2013, as per section number 2 of Companies Act 2013, dividend definition is given, and dividend is a return to shareholders. Dividend is a return to the shareholders and also includes interim dividend. Also includes which dividend? Interim dividend. There is one very important provision relating to interim dividend we have to do, that I will tell you. What do you mean by interim dividend? Now listen to this. Sir, what do you mean by dividend? First of all, dividend is a return to the shareholder. It is a right of a shareholder. It is an asset of a shareholder. Rather, it is a liability of a company. We all know that. We all have a rough idea about the dividend. So we'll just go in a very smooth way to understand what is the relevance of section number 123 to 127 when it comes to the dividend chapter. So dividend is a return to the shareholder and also includes which dividend? Interim dividend. So now the main thing what we have to understand, sir, what do you mean by the term called final dividend? And what do you mean by the term called interim dividend? What do you mean by the term called final dividend? And what do you mean by the term called interim dividend? अब इसको ध्यान से समझेंगे. Sir, what do you mean by final dividend? Listen to this very carefully. First of all, keep one thing clear in your head. Dividend is never ever recommended by the shareholders. Dividend is always recommended by the board of directors. Once the board of directors propose the rate of dividend, it is known as proposed dividend, which we generally see under the current liability head in our balance sheet. Are you getting the point? As a liability in the balance sheet, do we sometimes see the proposed dividend or not? That is the rate of dividend or amount of dividend which the board of directors have proposed. Now, once the proposed dividend goes till AGM, the proposed dividend will be shown in the balance sheet as a liability. Now, on the day of AGM, one of the ordinary businesses in the AGM is to declare the dividend. Who is going to declare the dividend? Now, shareholders are going to declare the dividend. Remember one thing, recommendation is always by the board of directors. Proposed rate is always made by the board of directors by passing a board resolution in the board meeting, but finally declaration will be done by whom? Shareholders. In the what? AGM. Once the declaration takes place, after that payment takes place. So first recommendation takes place, then declaration takes place, then payment takes place. Are you getting the point? And one biggest rule what you have to understand, that whatever the rate is recommended by the board of directors, shareholders cannot increase that rate. Shareholders cannot increase the rate. They cannot say that, suppose if the board of directors have said 12% rate of dividend and shareholders are saying no, we want 15%. Is it possible? Answer is no. Shareholders cannot increase the rate of dividend proposed by the board of directors. Either they can confirm the same rate, or what they can do, or they can reduce the rate, but they can never increase the rate. I hope everyone is crystal clear. So either they can decrease the rate or they can confirm the rate. Who are they? Shareholders. Whatever the rate is proposed by the board of directors, but they can never increase the rate proposed by the board of directors. So what do you mean by final dividend? Final dividend is that dividend which is recommended by board of directors but declared by shareholders. So what do you mean by final dividend? A final dividend is a dividend which is recommended by the board of directors but declared by whom? Shareholders. Then sir, what do you mean by interim dividend? Interim dividend is that dividend which is both recommended and declared. By whom? Board of directors. तो इसे recommend भी board of directors करते हैं और इसका declaration भी board of directors करते हैं. Are you getting the point? So final dividend is also known as proposed dividend, is also known as statutory dividend, which is proposed by the board of directors but declared by the shareholders. Whereas the interim dividend is a dividend which is recommended by the shareholders, recommended by the board of directors, as well as declared also by the board of directors. Sir, where it is declared at the AGM. It is declared at the AGM. On the day of AGM, it is declared. But what about the interim dividend? It is declared between the two AGMs. It is declared between the two AGMs. What do you mean by two AGMs? At any point of time. At any point of time in a financial year. At any point of time in a financial year, it is declared and paid. Are you getting the point? So, final dividend is only declared as the AGM, whereas the interim dividend is declared between the two AGMs. It means from one AGM to another AGM, whatever the time period the board of directors thinks fit, they can declare the which dividend? Interim dividend. Next point. So, final dividend cannot be revoked. Sir, what do you mean by cannot be revoked? Cannot be revoked means cannot be cancelled. Sir, once declared, it's like an arrow from your bow. It's like a normal message going out of your cell phone. You cannot take it back. You cannot take it back. So once it is declared, it cannot be cancelled. But what about the other things? What about the other things? It can be revoked. It can be revoked. Are you getting the point? So these are the major differences between what do you mean by final dividend and what do you mean by interim dividend. So let us read it again. So what do you mean by final dividend? A dividend which is recommended by the board of directors. A dividend which is recommended by the board of directors but declared by the shareholder is known as final dividend, which is recommended and declared both by the board of directors, that is known as interim dividend, declared at the AGM, declared between the two AGM. It cannot be cancelled. It can be cancelled. But yes, there are some exceptions. There are some exceptions to this point. Sir, exception means what? Sir, is there any scope of cancellation of final dividend? Answer is yes. There is a scope of cancellation of final dividend. Sir, under what circumstances? Under two circumstances, it can be cancelled. Circumstance number one, before sending notices of AGM. Before sending the notices of AGM, if the company wants, they can cancel the final dividend. Now listen to this very carefully. One logic is there. Sir, once the notice of AGM will be sent, shareholder will receive the notice. Now shareholder will see the agenda of the meeting. In the agenda of the meeting, it is written that declaration of dividend. It means shareholder will build his expectations that yes, dividend is going to be declared in the AGM. So once the notice of AGM is sent, no possibility of revocation of dividend. Dividend cannot be cancelled. But before sending the notices of an AGM, dividend there is still possibility that we can cancel it. Case number one. Or case number two, when the dividend is declared against the provisions of the law. Against the provisions of the law. It means you have gone against the act. You have gone against the law and you declared the dividend. In such situation also, what will happen? In such situation also, the dividend declared will be stand cancelled. Are you getting the point? So there are two exceptions. There are two exceptions under which the final dividend can be revoked. Otherwise, once the final dividend is declared in the AGM, it cannot be revoked. I hope everyone is crystal clear up to this point. Yes or no? Yes, sir. Okay. So this is what we understood the meaning of the term called what? Dividend, and what is the major difference between final dividend and interim dividend. Now next thing what we have to understand, sir, what are the sources for payment of dividend? What are the sources out of which the dividend can be paid? Now listen to with this very carefully. There are total 4 sources. There are total how many sources? Sir, 4 sources are there. But remember one thing, you have to learn these sources in a very sequential manner. You have to understand them in a very logical manner. Point number 1, always the dividend is paid out of current year profits. Dividend is always paid out of which year profits? Current year profits. But point number 2, if the current year profits are not sufficient, or there are losses in the current year, it means no profits at all. There are 2 scenarios. Either the current year profits are not sufficient to declare the dividend, and second scenario is what? So there is losses at all. Then in that situation, what will happen? In that situation, out of free reserves. Out of which reserves? free reserves. It will be paid out. I hope everyone is crystal clear. Are you understanding the point or not? So remember one thing, it will be paid first out of the current year profits only. But if the current year profits are not sufficient, and if there are current year losses, then in that case, you can touch the free reserves. Sir, neither current year profits are there, nor free reserves are there. Now what to do? Then situation number 3 will come. So what is the situation number 3? Now listen to this carefully. In the situation number 3, you can use the capital profits of the company. Sir, which profits of the company? Capital profits of the company. Sir, what we to have understood so far, ki capital profits cannot be utilized. But remember one thing, we have to utilize that capital profits which are realized in nature. Which are realized actually. Are you getting the point? Or not? With those capital profits which you have actually earned, which you have actually realized. Are you getting the point or not? Only those capital profits can be utilized. I hope everyone is crystal clear. Yes, sir. We are crystal clear. So, which capital profits you can utilize? So, first current year profits, sir, not there. Then you can use the free reserves, sir, that is also not there. Then you can use the which profits? Capital profits. But which capital profits? Sir, those capital profits which are what in nature? Realized in nature. What in nature? Realized in nature. Sir, point number 4. What is the next point? Sir, point number 4. So, in the point number 4, what we have to understand, sir, neither current year profits are there, nor free reserves are there, and I don't have the capital profits. Then it shall be guaranteed by, then you can pay the dividend only if it is guaranteed by either central government or state government. या तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट शुड गिव द गारंटी फॉर द पेमेंट ऑफ डिविडेंड और द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट शुड गिव द गारंटी फॉर द पेमेंट ऑफ डिविडेंड. आई होप एवरीवन इज क्लियर. Yes or no? So sources for the payment of dividend में first current year profits, second current year profits are insufficient and current year losses are there, then free reserves. If the free reserves are also not there, then capital profits. Sir, which capital profits? Which are realized in nature. And if neither the free reserves, not the current year, not the capital profits are there, then in that case you have to pay out of the amount which is guaranteed by the central government or state government. I hope everyone is crystal clear. Yes, sir. So this is what brings an end to the sources for the payment of dividend. Clear, sir? Yes, sir. We are clear. Now listen. Next thing, what we have to understand. What is the next thing we have to understand? Now try to listen to this very properly and very carefully. अब सुनना ध्यान से. Sir, are there any adjustments? Are there any adjustments to be done before payment of dividend? Are there any adjustments to be done before the payment of the dividend? Sir, we have kept the reserves aside. We have kept the profits aside. We have kept the everything. Capital profits also are aside. But is there any adjustments which we need to do before making the payment of dividend? Are there any compulsory statutory adjustment we need to do? Answer is yes. There are some adjustments. So what are those adjustments? Now listen to this one by one. Point number 1, you have to ensure that the current year depreciation must have been provided. Before making the payment of dividend out of your available funds or available surplus, you have to ensure that current year depreciation has to be provided. If the current year depreciation is not provided, first provide the current year depreciation. After that only you are allowed to pay the dividend or declare the dividend. Are you getting the point? So current year depreciation is okay. Okay. Then after the current year, then you have to see in the company ki whether the company is having any unabsorbed depreciation of previous years. Unabsorbed depreciation of which years? Sir, previous years. पुराने किसी साल के, with the old years, do we have any year in which we have not put up the depreciation due to the lack of funds? So unabsorbed depreciation of previous years is also required to be adjusted first. Crystal clear? So before making the payment of the dividend, sir, first adjust current year depreciation. Sir, then adjust what? Unabsorbed depreciation of previous years. Now listen to this thing. These two things we are going to adjust. So point number 1 and 2 we are going to adjust if we are paying the dividend out of which year profits? Current year profits. So if we are paying the dividend out of current year profits, then adjustment number 1 and adjustment number 2 both are required to be done. Now the question is, sir, we didn't have current year profits. Now what to do? We didn't have current year profits. Now what to do? Now tell me one thing. I already told you on the left side, if we do not have current year profits or the current year profits are insufficient, can we touch the free reserves? Yes, we can touch the free reserves. Now, if we are utilizing free reserves, now if free reserves are being utilized, if the free reserves, one more thing, before going to the free reserves, let me take you to another side. Now, first adjustment, current year depreciation. Second adjustment, unabsorbed depreciation of previous years. And what is the third adjustment, sir? Third adjustment is transfer to reserves. Transfer to free reserves. So what do you mean by this point? Before making the payment of the dividend from the current year profits, some portion of the profits you have to transfer to the free reserves. Now the question is, sir, how much? There is no limit. It is completely the discretionary power of company, or it is completely the discretionary power of board of directors. Whatever the percentage they will decide, that percentage on net profits of the current year will be transferred to reserve. So remember one thing, when we are using the current year profits, so 3 adjustments to be done. So what is the third adjustment? What is the first 2 adjustment? Current year depreciation. Second adjustment, sir, unabsorbed depreciation of the previous years. So what is the third adjustment? Sir, minimum sum amount you have to transfer to free reserve. Sir, how much to be transferred? That is completely the willpower or the discretionary power of board of directors or company. I hope I'm super clear to all of you. Yes, sir, I'm clear. Now, point number 4. Now, when free reserves are being utilized, when the free reserves are being utilized, then what kind of adjustments you have to do? So I already told you the 3 adjustments when we are using the current year profits. When we are using the which year profits, sir? Current year profits. When we are using, what are the 3 adjustments? Depreciation, unabsorbed depreciation, transfer to reserve. Now we are using current year profits of free reserves. So free reserves. In case of free reserves, we have to do the 2 adjustments. In case of free reserves, we have to do the 2 adjustments. So what are the 2 adjustments? Now listen to this case. Adjustment number 1. Current year losses. What is adjustment number 1? Current year losses. So why do you touch the free reserves when you have current year profits or current year losses? So current year losses. And what is the adjustment number 2? What is the adjustment number 2? Brought forward losses. What are the losses? Sir, brought forward losses. So current year losses you have to adjust from the free reserves before making the payment of the dividend, and brought forward losses of previous years. But there is one small amendment here. There's one small amendment here. There's no amendment in the current year losses. Current year losses, so fully you have to adjust. You have to adjust. But if it is brought forward losses, then the question arises, sir, how much to be adjusted? If we are adjusting the brought forward losses, then the question arises, how much to be adjusted? Now listen to this case. How much to be adjusted? Read it and understand it very carefully. Depreciation provided in such loss-making years. What was the amount of depreciation you provided in such loss-making years? Whatever the brought forward losses of loss-making years we are talking about, in those loss-making years, what was the amount of depreciation you provided? We have to club all that. Or total brought forward losses, or total brought forward losses of previous years. Total brought forward losses of previous years, whichever is lower. Whichever is lower to be adjusted. Whichever is lower is to be adjusted. So remember one thing, in those loss making years, say for example, years 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19. 3 years I incurred a losses. So let me give you an example, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, or you can say that 18, 19. 3 years I am talking about. In the 16, 17, the loss was 60 crores. In the 17, 18, the loss was 50 crores. 60 crores, 50 crores. And in the 18, 19, the loss was 110 crores. Are you getting the point? But in this loss making year, how much was the depreciation? Now listen, suppose the depreciation was 10 crores. Here the depreciation was 20 crores and here the depreciation was 25 crores. So this is a figure of losses, losses and losses, and this is the figure of depreciation, depreciation, depreciation. Now tell me, do the total counting of losses. So 60 crores, 50 crores and 110 makes it to 220 crores. What is the total of depreciation? 10 plus 20, 30, 30 plus 25, 55. So 220 crores or 55 crores, whichever is lower, 55 crores worth of amount will be adjusted from the which reserves? From the free reserves. Are you getting the point or not? Total brought forward losses are not required to be adjusted. It is to be compared with the depreciation of those loss making years. Whichever is lower is going to be adjusted. Whichever is lower is going to be adjusted. I hope I'm crystal clear with everyone. I'm crystal clear to everyone. Yes sir, we are crystal clear to everyone. I hope everyone is super clear now. Everyone is super clear? Yes? Okay. Now, current year losses and brought forward losses. This is what we have to adjust when we are using the which reserves? Sir, when we are using the free reserves. I hope everyone is clear, sir. Yes, sir, we are clear. We can move ahead. Yes, sir, we can move ahead. So, first we understood what do you mean by the term called dividend. Then we understood how final dividend is different from the interim dividend. Then we understood, sir, are there any sources out of which the dividend can be paid? Yes. And then we understood, sir, are there any adjustments to be done before the making the payment or dividend? Answer is yes. So what are the adjustments? Current year depreciation, unabsorbed depreciation of previous years, and transfer to reserves when we are using the current year profits. But when we are using the free reserves, two adjustment: current year losses, if any, and the brought forward losses of the previous years. But to what extent? The depreciation of those loss making years plus depreciation of those loss making years to be compared with what? Brought forward losses of those loss making year, whichever is lower, that is what we are going to adjust it. I hope everyone is super clear. Yes sir, we are clear. Shall we move ahead? Yes sir, we can move ahead. Chalo, now the major provision. Now we are going to do dividend declaration and payment rules. What are the name of the rules? Dividend declaration and payment rules, and majorly it is also known as this is known as section number 123. Section number 123. Now listen to this. This is very practical kind of topic which we are going to do now, and make sure that you are giving your patient ears very clearly here. Now see, dividend declaration and payment rules. Now what is section number 123 here? We are going actually to study what if the dividend is paid out of free reserves. This is the main question. So what are those things we have to consider if the dividend is paid out of free reserves? So first of all, we should all understand, so when the free reserves can be used or when the free reserves can be touched, there are two scenarios. Either current year profits, either the current year profits are insufficient, either the current year profits are what? Insufficient, or there are current year losses that we already know. Tell me one thing, when do we touch the free reserves? So, yahan to current year profits are insufficient or there are current year losses. Now, what is the section number 123 saying? Whenever, now section number 123 is saying that whenever the dividend is declared and paid out of free reserve, section number 123 says that whenever the dividend is declared and paid out of which reserves? Sir, out of free reserves, then following all four conditions. How many conditions? All four conditions are required to be satisfied. Not either of them. All the four conditions are required to be satisfied. Are you getting the point? So whenever we are touching the free reserves, we have to ensure that all the four conditions written below are required to be satisfied. I hope everyone is clear. Yes, sir. Now, what are those 4 conditions? We are going to understand one by one. Sir, condition number 1. Condition number 1. Point number 1. Listen to this very carefully. Very important condition. The rate of dividend to be offered or amount of dividend to be offered. The rate of dividend or the amount of dividend which the company wants to offer or company wants to declare and pay in any case shall not be exceeding average of last 3 years rate or amount. So what is the condition number 1? Whatever the rate of dividend the company wants to declare, whatever the amount of dividend the company wants to declare, in any case that rate and that amount shall not be exceeding the average of last 3 years rate. Average of last how many years rate? 3 years rate. It should not exceed the last 3 years rate. I hope everyone is crystal clear so far. Yes or no? So last 3 years rate should be averaged, and more than that, can you declare? No, you can't declare in the current year. But this condition, there is one point. This condition is only applicable. This condition is only applicable if in the last 3 years, last how many years? 3 years, dividend was declared and paid. Dividend was declared and paid. Sir, what do you mean by that? The meaning of this interpretation of this point is, sir, in the last 3 years, in any of the year, if the dividend is not declared, or 2 years dividend is not declared, or 3 years dividend is not declared, or 1 year dividend is not declared, then in that case, this condition is not required to be satisfied. This condition, point number A, is required to be satisfied. Point number A is required to be satisfied only when this condition is satisfied. Means what? In the last 3 financial years, if the dividend is declared and paid, then only this provision is required to be satisfied. I hope everyone is clear. Yes, sir. Condition number 1, okay? Yes, sir. Okay. Now, condition number 2. How much maximum withdrawal? We can't use the total free reserves. Am I correct or not? So, how much maximum withdrawal is allowed from free reserves? How much maximum withdrawal is allowed from the free reserves? In any case, it shall not be more than 10% of total paid up share capital of the company plus free reserves. In any case, it shall not be more than 10% of total paid up share capital plus free reserves. If the 10% of total paid up share capital plus free reserves is one figure, more than that, not even a single rupee, you can withdraw. So you can maximum withdraw from the free reserves. How much? Maximum 10% of total paid up share capital plus free reserves. I hope everyone is clear. We will do one practical question also to make you understand. Yes, sir. Condition number 3. After withdrawal, now did we withdraw the money or not? Yes, sir. We withdrawn the money. After withdrawal, how much minimum shall be left out in free reserves? How much minimum shall be left out in free reserve? Means withdrawal is done, but after the withdrawal, the company is actually saying that minimum this much should also be there in your free reserves. You can't use the full free reserves. Minimum this much you have to maintain in the free reserve. That in any case shall not be less than. Now crocodile's face in on other side. Crocodile's face is on this side now. Are you getting the point? So in any case, the free reserves balance shall not be less than 15% of total paid up share capital of the company. Not free reserves, only total paid up share capital of the company. It means after the withdrawal, minimum 15% of the total paid up share capital of the company must be left over in your free reserve. That much only you can withdraw. And what is the condition number D? First adjust. You all know when we use the free reserves, what do we adjust? First adjust current year losses. First adjust which year losses? Current year losses. So are you ready to do one practical question? Yes sir, we are ready to do one practical question. अब इसको ध्यान से सुनना. Example. Suppose there is one ABC Limited company. ABC Limited's current year losses are 6 crores. How much are the losses? 6 crores. So these are the current year losses are 6 crores. Its equity share capital is 40 crores. Its paid up share capital, its preference share capital is 100 crores. Its free reserves are 30 crores. And in 17-18, 18-19 and 16-17, 20%, 18%, 22% was the rate of dividend. Everyone is clear with this question? Now the question is, how much dividend can be paid in 1920 financial year? For 1920 financial year. Did you understand the question or not? Now listen to this very carefully. First thing, is it a company? Yes. Section number 123. First thing, sir, are there any profits or there are losses? Are there any profits or there are losses? Sir, there are losses. So when the losses are there in the current year, we would like to touch our which reserves? Then we would like to touch our free reserves. I hope everyone is crystal clear up to this point. Yes sir, we are clear up to this point. Now listen to this very carefully. How many free reserves are there? 30 crores. But there are 4 conditions are required to be satisfied as per section number 123. Do you all agree or not? Yes sir. What is the condition number 1? The rate of dividend to be offered or the amount of dividend to be offered in any case shall not be more than average of last 3 years rate or amount. The rate of dividend to be offered or amount of dividend to be offered in any case shall not be more than average of last 3 years rate. Everyone is crystal clear? Yes. Now let us see what is the average of last 3 years rate. 20 plus 18 plus 22. 20 is the average. Am I correct? Now you have to calculate 20% on equity share capital and preference share capital because dividend is required to be paid to the board. So condition number 1 is 20% is the average what we got. Right or not? We got the 20% average on what? 140 crores. How much it is coming? Sir, 28 crore rupees it is coming. How much maximum dividend you can pay? 28 crore dividend you can pay. But story didn't end here. Now listen to this very carefully. Sir, how much maximum withdrawal is allowed from the free reserves? Are we using the free reserves? Yes. So let us see whether 28 crores can be withdrawn from the free reserves or not. Sir, how much maximum withdrawal is allowed in the free reserves? Now listen to this very carefully. Very, very carefully. Ab sunna dhyan se. How much maximum is allowed to be withdrawn from the free reserves? If I'm not wrong, I told you 1/10 or 10% of the total paid up share capital plus free reserves. So can you calculate the 10% of total paid up share capital plus free reserves? If I'm not wrong, that is nothing but 10% of 140 crores equity share capital, 100 crores is preference share capital plus 30 crores of free reserves. So total 170 crores ka 10% is how much? 17 crores. So sir, 28 crores to we can't pay because maximum withdrawal allowed is how much? Sir, maximum withdrawal allowed is only 17 crores. So can we pay 25 crores? Can we pay 28 crores? No. So it means now as per condition number 2, so far maximum we can pay only 17 crores. Are you understanding the point? Now what was the condition number 3? Sir, after withdrawal, do we have to keep some minimum balance in the free reserves or not? Do we have to keep some minimum balance in the free reserves or not? Sir, how much minimum balance we have to keep in the free reserve? Sir, at least 15% of the total paid up share capital. So what is at least 15% of the total paid up share capital must be kept in free reserves. Now, what is the 15% of 140 crores? 15% of only total paid up share capital, no free reserves. So 30 crores will not be added. 15% is, if I'm not wrong, 21 crores. So out of 30 crores of reserves, 21 crores we have to keep in the free reserves. So indirectly, who will tell me how much is the maximum withdrawal allowed? So minimum we have to keep, minimum to be kept, how much? 21 crores. Total free reserves are how much? 30 crores. It means maximum withdrawal as per condition number 3 is how much? 9 crores. It means we can't pay. It means we can't pay 28 crores. We can't pay 17 crores. We can maximum pay how much? 9 crores, because out of 30 crores, minimum 21 crores is required to be kept in which reserve? Free reserve. I hope all of you are understanding. And now condition number 4. Sir, what was our condition number 4? Condition number 4 was adjust current year losses. So what is the current year losses? Current year losses are 6 crores. So out of 9 crores which we can withdraw minus 6 crores, we are going to adjust the maximum payment for financial year 1920 in terms of dividend can be 3 crore rupees only. Everyone crystal clear or not? Yes. This is how the Companies Act complicates your provisions. Until unless you don't understand the in-depth knowledge of each and every provision or the intention of the lawmaker, you can't conquer the company law. It will be very difficult for you to conquer the law subject if you're not good with the auditing. I'm telling you. Make sure that whenever you are doing any kind of theory subject, ensure that you are always you are concentrating on intention of the lawmaker. What the lawmaker is trying to do that. If you will start mugging up the provision, what is the problem is you will lose the control. You will lose the grip over the topic. You will never be able to retain the topic for a longer period of time. That is the problem. Are you getting the point or not? So yes, we got your point. So this is how the dividend section number 123 gets over. I hope everything is crystal clear now. This is how section number 123 gets over, where it is said that as per the dividend declaration and payment rules 2014, as per rule number 3, if the company wants to pay the dividend or declare the dividend out of free reserves, 4 conditions are required to be satisfied. So condition number 1, the average of last 3 years dividend is the maximum dividend you can give in the current year. And that too, this condition is only applicable if in the last all the 3 years dividend was declared. Otherwise not required to be satisfied. Condition number 2, maximum withdrawal allowed is 10% of total paid up share capital plus free reserves is a maximum withdrawal allowed from the free reserves. Then how much minimum to be kept in the free reserves? It is minimum 15% of the total paid up share capital to be kept in the free reserves. And after taking out the money, you have to first adjust which year losses? Current year losses. I hope with the example you have been clear with all the concepts, right? So now you can give me the green signal. Can we proceed with the next section or not? Right or not? Now see, there are some things what you need to know. So what are those things what we need to know? There are some notes which we need to learn. So what are those notes? Point number 1, in case company has any kind of default, in case the company has any kind of default under section 73 to 76, under section 73 to 76. So what is 73 to 76? Acceptance of public deposits. If you have violated in raising the public deposits, if you have violated in repayment of public deposits, if you have defaulted in the payment of public deposit, or any kind of thing you have violated from section number 73 to 76, then in that case dividend can't be declared and paid. Clear? Dividend can't be declared and paid. Condition number 2, these provisions are not applicable. The above provisions are not applicable to 100% government companies. The above provisions are not applicable to the 100% government companies, not 51%, 100% government company. If you are a government company with the 100% ratio by the government holding the paid up share capital or ownership or control in your company, then only the above conditions are not satisfied. So this is what the 2 notes you need to remember. Now, before jumping into anything, before jumping into the next section, I would like to discuss something about this dividend. What is the name of the dividend? Interim dividend. Interim dividend. Now, first of all, we all know everything about this particular dividend called what? interim dividend. We all know everything about this particular dividend called interim dividend. So let us just discuss some formalities or some provisions relating to interim dividend. Now listen, what is interim dividend? First of all, is it the part of the definition of the dividend? Yes, dividend includes interim dividend. That is what is written in section 2 subsection 34 or 35. Sir, what is interim dividend? Now listen to this case. Interim dividend is a dividend which is both declared and recommended by the board of directors. It can be revoked at any point of time, and it is declared between the two AGMs. Just now we have done that in the particular differences above, right? I'm not here to tell you what do you mean by interim dividend. I'm here to tell you that there is one special provision relating to interim dividend which you need to understand. Point number one, first of all, sir, how much interim dividend can be declared? Answer is any rate. It is completely the willpower of the board of directors and the company how much interim dividend they want to declare. There is no any kind of restrictions on the declaration of dividend rate. But don't worry, I will tell you some restrictions. Don't worry, I am here to tell you the complete provision. So let me create one base so that you can understand. Sir, how much interim dividend can be declared? Sir, any rate can be declared by the board of directors. How much? Any amount. Next point. Okay. Sir, can interim dividend be paid out of free reserves? Answer is no. Point number two. Interim dividend cannot be paid out of free reserves. Interim dividend cannot be paid, sir, out of which reserves? Out of free reserves. It cannot be paid out of free reserve. Crystal clear? Yes, sir, crystal clear. So dividend provision is over. Now, point number 3. Listen to this very good provision. If there are losses in the financial year, up to the last date of preceding quarter, up to the last date of which quarter? Preceding quarter. Which preceding quarter? Presiding the date of declaration of interim dividend. Then in this case, don't worry, I'll tell you, make you understand the whole provision. Then in such cases, rate of interim dividend also cannot be more than, you can say, cannot be more than average of last 3 financial years rate of dividend. Are you getting the point? Now listen to this very carefully. Now listen to the example very carefully. Now, suppose we are talking about 1920 financial year. We're talking about which financial year? 1920 financial year. So let's do one thing. Let's talk about 2021 financial year. Let's update ourselves. Let's talk about 2021 financial year. So in the 2021 financial year, we are talking about the payment of interim dividend. Now listen to this very carefully. What is the date going on right now? Sir, date going on is, say for example, 4th August. 4th August. What is the date going on? Sir, say for example, 4th August. Now 4th August, company wants to declare the which dividend? Interim dividend. Can you tell me what is the preceding quarter of the date of declaration? What is the date of declaration? Sir, this is the date of declaration, 4th August 2020. What is the preceding quarter of the 4th August? What is the preceding quarter ended before the date of declaration? So if I'm not wrong, April, May, June. So 30th June 2020 was the preceding quarter ended before the date of declaration. Up to this preceding quarter ended, if the company is incurring what? Losses. It means on 30th June 2020, if the company's financial statements, rather you can say interim financial statements of the company are showing losses on 30th June 2020, the rate of dividend what you are declaring on 4th August 2020 in any case shall not be more than average of last 3 years dividend rate. Clear or not? Did you understand or not? Up to the preceding quarter from the date of declaration, if the company is showing the losses in the financial year, then the rate of dividend cannot be more than average of last 3 years financial year. But if up to the preceding quarter there are profits, any rate. That's what I told you. Point number 1. How much dividend, interim dividend can be declared? I told you any rate of dividend can be declared. But there is a provision. If there are losses in the financial year up to the last date of preceding quarter. Sir, which preceding quarter? That preceding quarter which is presiding the date of declaration of interim dividend. With the example, I hope you might have got perfectly what I'm trying to tell you. Then in that case, the rate of dividend of the interim dividend in any case shall not be more than average of last 3 financial year rates. I hope everyone is clear. Yes, sir. Everyone is clear. Right? So 2021 financial year, 4th August, suppose the date of declaration of dividend. What is the preceding quarter from the 4th August? So 30th June. On 30th June, company's interim financial statements are showing what? Losses. Then in that case, rate of dividend in such cases cannot be more than average of last 3 years rate. I hope everyone is crystal clear. Yes, it is crystal clear. So that brings an end to something which I wanted to tell you about what? Interim dividend. I hope everyone is crystal clear. Yes, sir. We are done. Now, let us understand the next provision. Let us understand the next provision. Now, so what is the next provision? Now, listen to this very carefully. There is a different way of doing it. I'm going to make you section number 124. I'm going to make you understand section number 124. Section number 125. And section number 127 together. I'm going to make you understand section number 124, section 125 and section number 127 together. For that, you have to lend your patient ears to me very patiently and start listening to me for the next half an hour. Give your patient ears to me. I'll make sure that in the next half an hour, most of the dividend chapter will be over. Most of that. But don't worry, there will be a minimum 1.5 hour of session more left in the dividend. Clear? Shall we start? Okay, let us start. Now listen to this case. Sir, let us understand. Sir, dividend is recommended at what? Dividend is recommended at board meeting. Dividend is recommended at which meeting? Board meeting. Now try to understand the whole process. It's a chain. The whole section number 124, 125, 127 will be there in one chain only. So dividend is recommended at board meeting. So it means what is the starting point? The starting point is board meeting. The starting point is which meeting? Sir, board meeting is the starting point. Now listen to this very carefully. Once it is recommended in the board meeting, once recommended at board meeting, tell me one thing, what about shareholders? Shareholders can't increase the rate, but shareholders can either confirm the rate or they can reduce the rate, that too in AGM. Everyone is clear or not? So remember one thing, shareholders can't increase the rate, but shareholders can confirm the rate or reduce the rate which is recommended by the board of directors. Everyone is crystal clear? Yes, sir, crystal clear. Now, once after the board meeting, which meeting will take place? After the board meeting, which meeting will take place? The meeting is known as AGM. What is the meeting going to take place now? The meeting is known as what? AGM. Clear? So, after the board meeting, the meeting is known as AGM. What is the meeting? Meeting is known as AGM. So tell me, sir, in the AGM, what will happen? In the AGM, declaration of dividend will take place. Declaration of dividend. shall take place. So tell me one thing. Recommendation took place in board meeting. Recommendation took place in board meeting. Declaration of dividend is taking place in AGM. Who will declare? Shareholders. It will be declared by the company in its general meeting by passing an ordinary resolution कि how much dividend they want. They can only confirm the same rate which is recommended, or they can reduce the rate, but they can never increase the rate. Sir, up to this though we also know. But yes, let us come back to the main point slowly. Now once it is declared at AGM, company shall ensure the payment of dividend within 30 days from its declaration. Within 30 days from its what? Declarations. So once the dividend is declared in the AGM, company has to ensure that dividend must be paid within 30 days. Company shall ensure the payment of dividend within 30 days from the date of declaration from a separate bank account. Company has to open a separate bank account. From the company's bank account, you can't pay. Company has to open a separate bank account called dividend account. What is the name of the account? Called which account? Dividend account. Did you get the point? Company shall ensure, once it is declared at the AGM, company shall ensure the payment of dividend within 30 days from its declaration from a separate bank account called what? Dividend account. Yes, sir. Up to this, everything is understood. Now listen to this carefully. What the company will do? Company will transfer the company's funds from their own account to this dividend account, and they will keep it in this dividend account for the next 30 days for the purpose of payment. Sir, how the payment shall be made? How the payment shall be made? It can be made in check. It can be made by online transfer. It can be made by ECS. Are you getting the point? Any electronic mode is allowed to make the payment of the dividend. Everyone is super clear? Yes, sir. We are clear. So it can be paid via check, by online transfer, or via electronic transfer, whatever the case may be, net banking, anything. But it must be paid within how many days? Within 30 days. So 30 days will start from when? From the declaration. Now, in case company fails to pay, dividend within 30 days, the total dividend, no, any amount of dividend. So suppose company was about to pay 10 crores of dividend. So out of 10 crores, 9.9 crore is paid. Sir, 0.1 crore, 10 lakhs is left. But something is left or not? If it is the company's fault, कि company has not paid the dividend or company was unable to pay the dividend. Remember one thing I am saying, if the company fails, what is the word I am using? If the company fails to pay the dividend within 30 days, then section number 127 will apply. If the company fails to pay the dividend within 120 days, then section number 127 will apply. Sir, what is section number 127? Let's go to the beginning of this chapter and let us understand what is 127. Penalty on the company. Penalty on the company on non-payment of dividend within 30 days from its declaration. When it is whose fault? When it is company's fault. When it is whose fault? It is company's fault. So let us go back to the provision again. Let us understand the provision now. So tell me one thing. Once the company transferred the amount to the dividend account within 30 days from the declaration of dividend in the AGM, company has to ensure that dividend must be paid. But if the company fails to pay the dividend, then in that case, section number 127 will apply. Sir, what is section number 127? Penalty. What is section number 127? Penalty. Sir, on whom? On company. Penalty will be there on company plus officers in default. Section number 127 talks about what? Penalty. So where the penalty? Penalty will be there on the company plus officers in default. So what is the penalty on the company? Company shall pay interest penalty at the rate of 18% per annum. Company shall pay interest penalty at the rate of what? 18% per annum. Again repeating, company shall pay the interest penalty at the rate of 18% per annum. Everyone is super clear? Yes, sir. It is clear. Now, officers in default are also going to pay the penalty. Sir, how much penalty they will pay? Now, listen to this. Up to rupees 1000 per day plus imprisonment up to 2 years. This is the penalty on the connected or related officers in default under section 127. तो उनको फाइन भी पे करना पड़ेगा up to ₹1000 per day, which will be decided by the statutory authority, and they may be sent to the jail. They will be sent to the jail up to what? 2 years if the company fails to pay the dividend within 30 days from its declaration. That is what do you mean by section number 127. But there is a twist. So what is the twist? What if it is not a company's fault? It is shareholders' fault. What if it is not a company's fault? In case, let's understand, in case the dividend, in case the non-payment of dividend was not company's fault, in such case, section number 127 definitely will not apply. Means company will not be liable to pay any kind of interest penalty at the rate of 18% per annum, and no officer in default will be penalized. But when in case non-payment of the dividend was not the whose fault? Company's fault. Sir, are there any cases? Yes. Cases connected with that. Now let me give you one by one case. Suppose, in which cases company will not be liable? Now, in which cases company will not? Cases under which company is not liable under section 127. Cases under which the company is not liable under section 127. Now listen to this one thing. Suppose the shareholder gave some instructions to company for dividend, but it was not fulfilled. It was not fulfilled, or it cannot be fulfilled, and company already informed such to that shareholder. What do you mean by that? Suppose shareholder told me that, sir, do one thing, give me the cash. Shareholder told that, give me the cash. Now tell me, can we pay the dividend in cash? No. Now tell me, whether the instruction of this shareholder can be done by the company? No. Company cannot go against the law. Company will not pay the dividend in cash. Now, and his instruction cannot be fulfilled. That also we have already intimated to whom? Shareholder. So it is not the company's fault for the non-payment of dividend, because whatever the instruction he is asking, that instructions cannot be fulfilled. So that is not company's fault. So why should I pay the penalty as per section number 127? So this is a case under which company will not be liable. Point number 2. When dividend was not paid, when the dividend was not paid under operation of law. Sir, what do you mean by operation of law? Suppose there was some act under which that particular shareholder was not liable to receive any kind of dividend. There was a court order or something like that. Any kind of violation of law he might have done, and the company did not pay the dividend due to the operation of law. Or you can say that company declared the dividend against the law, or company was paying the dividend to the shareholder, but that shareholder was not liable to receive the dividend which is under the operation of the law. So in such case also it is not company's fault. It is a shareholder's fault. So in this case also dividend will not be paid. So point number 3. What is the next one? Point number 3. Point number 3 is when dividend is disputed, one, against the title of recipient. Now, that shareholder who was a recipient of the dividend, there was a dispute in the title of receiving the dividend. It means there was one problem in the law going on ki whether he can receive the dividend or not. There was a dispute. The clear title was not available to the company. That's why company stopped the payment of that dividend to that particular shareholder. So in that case, if the dividend is disputed on one against the title of the recipient, then in that case also dividend will not be paid, and then in that case also company will not be charged under section 127. So what is the case number 4? Now listen to this case number 4. When the dividend was adjusted or set off, when the dividend was adjusted or set off against indebtedness of shareholder to the company, that particular shareholder or the member of the company was already indebted to the company. He was already indebted to the company. It means he had to pay some money to the company, and company has to pay the dividend. So company did what? We have to give the dividend. He has to give us the money. So let's do the adjustment. So when the set off or the adjustment has been carried out by the company, then also section number 127 will not be applicable. Clear everyone? Yes. And point number 5, on any other reasonable grounds. On any other reasonable grounds. So on any other reasonable grounds, if the company still thinks that dividend should not be paid, then the company has not paid. So in all these circumstances, so let's take an example. He has not informed his updated address. Company sent the check, bounced back. He has not updated his bank account. Company sent the money, but bank account is closed. That's why it's bouncing back. Amount is not getting credited to the shareholders account. Then now tell me, in this case, is it company's fault? No, it is not company's fault. So section number 127 will not be applicable under these circumstances. So that brings an end to one section out of the 3 which I promised you, that is called section number 127. Clear, sir? Yes, sir. Clear. So dividend journey started from board meeting. It was declared at AGM. Once it is declared, within 30 days, company has to ensure the payment of the dividend by transferring the amount to the dividend account, and from that dividend account only company has to make the payment. It can be made via check, online, ECS. If the company fails to pay the dividend within 30 days, section number 127 will apply. What is that section number 127? Penalty in there in front of you, company and officers in default. But under the following circumstances, company will not be liable to pay any kind of penalty under section 127. These are 5 in number. These are there in front of you. Clear, sir? Yes, sir. Clear. Now let us again continue from the same thing. So where were we? So dividend is not paid completely. So section number 127 was applicable to you. Now see, let me complete it from here. Again, we are going a process. We are doing a process. So let's continue from the same color. So in between section number 127, I told you, let's continue from the same thing. If there is non-payment of dividend in dividend account, now tell me whether some payment is not being made or not being made, and it means that amount which was about to be paid is still in which account? Dividend account. Then what will happen? Then after 30 days of declaration of dividend, if still amount unpaid is there in which account? Dividend account, then dividend account shall be closed. Company has to close the which account? Dividend account shall be closed. Sir, dividend account is closed, then what will do to that amount which is still in that dividend account? Dividend account will be closed, and in the next 7 working days, company shall open another bank account. In the next 7 working days, after the closure of the dividend account, in the next how many working days? In the next 7 working days, company shall open another bank account in the name of company. In the name of company. So again, another bank account will be opened in the name of company called unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. Now, what was the earlier account name? Dividend account. Now, what is the name of this account? Unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. What is the name of this account? Unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. So, after 30 days of declaration, dividend account will be shut down. Whatever the amount is left in that dividend account, that amount will be transferred. That amount will be transferred from that account to this account. What is the name of the new account now? Unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. When we have to open? After closing the dividend account, within the next 7 working days, company has to ensure to open another bank account called unpaid and unclaimed dividend account, and that is known as section number 124. Here, what is applicable? Section number 124 is applicable. I hope everyone is crystal clear. Yes, sir, we are crystal clear. So, sir, what is the validity of this account? What was the validity of dividend account? Tell me, what was the validity of dividend account? So, validity, now listen this. What was the validity of this dividend account? The validity was 30 days. Validity is 30 days. Now, what is the validity of this account? Sir, the validity of this account is 7 years. How many years? 7 years from declaration. Company has to keep this account open for 7 years from the declaration. From how many years? 7 years from the declaration. This is what the validity of this account. What is the name of the account? Unpaid, unclaimed dividend account. This is what the name of this account. Everyone is crystal clear or not? And what is the name of the section? Section number 124. Now, I have to tell you what is section number 124. I hope all of you are understanding the whole process. So, in the process only, mostly 90% of the chapter will be over. Clear everybody? Yes, sir. Now, what do you mean by section number 125? Tell me, what is the name I told you? Unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. Unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. Now listen to this case very carefully. Sir, what is 124? Unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. Now listen. Point number 1. Once the dividend account is closed, the unpaid amount of dividend shall be transferred to unpaid and unclaimed dividend account within how many days? Within 7 days. Within how many days? I already told you within how many days? Within 7 days. Is it correct or not? So, within 7 days, the amount which is unpaid in the dividend account shall be transferred from that dividend account which we have shut down to the unpaid and unclaimed dividend account within how many days? 7 days. On the failure of transfer, it is whose the responsibility to transfer? Company. Therefore, company shall pay interest at the rate of 12% per annum till the time amount is not. Suppose within 7 days you have to transfer. You took 45 days to transfer. How many extra days you have taken? 38 extra days you have taken. So for those 38 extra days, company has to add 12% per annum interest penalty. So on the failure of transfer, company shall pay interest penalty at the rate of what? 12%. Am I correct or not? At the rate of 12%. Point number 3. So what is the point number 3? Now listen to this very carefully. So what is the point number 3? Right? So till the time the amount is not getting transferred, company has to pay the interest penalty at the rate of 12% till the time of transfer. After transfer, within 90 days of transfer, company shall prepare a list of shareholders to whom dividend is pending with their names, their addresses and amount outstanding. How much amount is outstanding for the dividend to them? So after the transfer, within how many days? Within 90 days of transfer, company has to prepare one list of such shareholders to whom the dividend is pending with their names, with their address and amount outstanding. Sir, why? So that to be published, this list will be published, on website, So those shareholders who are unable to see whether they are unable to understand whether they are eligible to get the dividend or not, or where is that dividend, their names will be listed or published on the website of the company. Company has to just go there. Shareholder has just go to the website of the company. He has to see the list. If his name is there, he is eligible to take his money. Are you getting the point? So after the transfer, within 90 days of transfer, the company shall prepare the list of shareholders to whom the dividend is pending with their names, address and outstanding amount to be published on the website. Now tell me, what is the validity? What is the validity of this account? It is 7 years. What I told you, 7 years from declaration of dividend, not 7 years from the date of transfer. 7 years from the declaration of dividend. It means 7 years from the date of AGM. In the AGM it was declared or not? So from 7 years from the date of AGM, it should be kept in this unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. Now, within these 7 years, what will happen? So many shareholders will come back from foreign country, or those who have not claimed, they can claim their money. So up to 7 years, this dividend which is unpaid and unclaimed is in the custody of the company in the account called unpaid dividend and unclaimed dividend account. Are you getting the point? Till the time it is there with the company, anybody can come and claim their money back. Now, point number 5, at least 3 months before the closure of this account. You might be thinking why I am laughing. Now listen to this. First we opened dividend account. We closed it within 30 days. Now this account validity is how many years? So 7 years. So at least 3 months before the closure of this account means what? Sir, after 6 years 9 months. Once the 6 year 9 months are going to get completed, 3 months before the closure or not? So at least 3 months before the closure of this account, company again shall prepare updated list of shareholders to whom dividend is still pending. Now let me ask you one simple question. Sir, during the 7 years, so many people might have taken their amount or not? So the list which we prepared in the beginning of 90 days from the date of transfer and the list which we are preparing at the end 3 months before the closure of this account, it means almost after 6 years 9 months. Now tell me, there will be a difference in that list or not? So many people might have come and taken back their money. So there will be so much of difference in that list. So company again shall prepare updated list of shareholders to whom the dividend is still pending and again shall be published on website. So after doing everything in writing in this way, I will take up to the module and we'll see each and everything whether we have covered about the dividend chapter or not, right? Okay. Now what is the point number 6? After 7 years, this account shall be closed. Now after 7 years, this unpaid and unclaimed dividend account shall be closed, and very important point, within 30 days of its closures, two things will happen. Within 30 days of its closure, two things will happen. Amount still unpaid and unclaimed, amount which is still unpaid and unclaimed. After 7 years, there might be a case that still some amount is there. So amount still unpaid and unclaimed shall be transferred to Investors Education Protection Fund. Amount still unpaid and unclaimed shall be transferred to Investors Education Protection Fund, and securities of those who did not claim their dividend. Now listen to this very carefully, very important point. Try to understand this point. Now listen. Sir, I was in US, say for example, for 8 years. For the 8 years, I didn't know whether the dividend is declared or not. I didn't go to the website of the company. I was not aware of the fact whether the company has declared the dividend or not. Okay. Sir, after 8 years, I came back to India. But for those 8 years, the dividend which was declared, but I did not claim as a shareholder, whether that dividend was protected by the company in the unpaid, unclaimed dividend account or not. Now, once the 7 years are over, don't you think that company may assume that that particular shareholder is dead or dormant or inactive? There might be a case that company might think like that, that particular shareholder did not claim his money called dividend in the 7 years, then what do we expect? Is he still alive? So many questions will come or not. Like that, what the company will do, the securities of that person who did not claim his dividend in the last how many years? 7 years, that will also be transferred to IEPF Demat account. So what is happening, sir? Two things are happening. Sir, funds are being transferred in this case from this account, unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. Funds are being transferred to what? IEPF. Are you getting the point? And the securities are being transferred to IEPF Demat account. It means your securities are not being taken away. Your securities from your Demat account are now going to be transferred to IEPF Demat account till the time the rightful claimant does not come to the IEPF and claim his money back. Sir, after 7 years, our money and our securities are no more with the company. Company was required to keep it and maintain it for 7 years. After 7 years, the company has to shut down the unpaid and unclaimed dividend account, and all the funds will be transferred to IEPF fund, and all the securities or those who have not claimed the money will be taken from the Demat account and will be transferred to IEPF Demat account. It doesn't mean that your money is lost or your securities are lost. No, nothing is lost. It is still there with you only. It is still there with you only. You just need to go to the IEPF and claim it. You just need to go to whom? IEPF and claim it. I hope everyone is clear which I said so far. Yes sir, we are clear. I hope everyone is crystal clear. Now see, this is what is known as section number 125. Now this is the reason I told you that all the three sections I'll tell you one by one. So first we understood 127. Then we understood 124, unpaid unclaimed dividend. Now we have to understand section number 125. So after the closure of unpaid and unclaimed dividend account of 7 years, within 30 days, we have to transfer the funds to the IEPF account, and we have to transfer the amount to the securities to the IEPF Demat account. Now let me show you something practical. Now where do we write all these things, whether these things are required or not? Now listen to this carefully. Okay, let's take up the annual report of this thing. Now see, let me just rub this part so that you can understand and clearly see. Do you remember we have done section number 143 subsection 12, subsection 3, other statutory and legal requirements para? That is what I'm talking about again, other statutory and legal requirements para. Now listen to this thing. In that, there is one last topic I told you, that others matters. Others matters mein, now see, this is a Reliance India Limited's annual report. Now see, there has been no delay in transferring the amounts required to be transferred to the Investors Education and Protection Fund by the company, except for an amount of 1.51 crores which are held in abeyance due to pending legal cases. Now listen to this case. Every company has to transfer. Remember one thing, after 7 years, the investor's education, after 7 years, unpaid and unclaimed dividend account will be closed, and from this account, the amount will be transferred to IEPF. This is what I wanted to show you practically here. This is the Reliance India Limited's annual report. And why they have not transferred 1.5 crore rupees to that Investors Education and Protection Fund? Because there are some pending litigation. That is what we are going to understand in section number 126, keeping the dividend in abeyance. There I will tell you. So there I will again open this and tell you the relevance of 1.51 crores. I hope you understood it practically or not. So after 7 years, what is happening basically? After 7 years, what is happening basically? Funds are being transferred to IPF account and securities are being transferred to IPF demat account. That is known as section number 125. That is known as section number 125. So, sir, what is section number 125? Investors Education and Protection Funds. Investors Education and Protection Fund. So let me tell you one thing, sir, ये Investors Education and Protection Fund होता क्या है? Now see, this is a central government fund. Point number 1. This is a which fund? Central government fund. To regulate this fund, to manage this fund, there is one authority known as IEPF authority. What is the name of the authority? Investors Education and Protection Fund Authority, and this authority is constituted by whom? Central government. So whatever the money comes in Investors Education and Protection Fund, that comes in the eyes of, that comes under the eyes of Investors Education and Protection Fund Authority. And who has constituted that authority? Central government. So it's a central government fund. Now the question is, so what is the purpose of this fund? The purpose of this fund is lying in its name only. If you can clearly see, what is the first word used? Investors Education. What is the first word used? Investors Education. What is the second word used? Investors Protection. So what is the purpose of this fund? Purpose is very clear. Point number 1, to educate the investors about capital markets. About which markets? Capital markets. What is the reason? So reason is very simple. In India, people are unaware about the stock markets. People are unaware about the capital markets. People are unaware about the shares and securities. Only 1.26% of population in India participates in stock market. Can you imagine? Maximum 2%, which is 10 times in US. So India is still lacking. Investors don't know. They only know one thing. Either you should buy a gold or you should buy a land if you want to increase your wealth. But let me tell you one thing, the equity can increase your wealth by many folds, multiplier folds. That they don't know. So to educate the people that what kind of benefit you may have. Yes, risks are there. High returns, high risk. Risks are there. That is what the purpose of constitution of IEPF is to educate the investors. Is to educate the investors about the which markets? Capital markets. If you have the money, first save the money, then spend the money. Not spend the money first and then whatever is left is you are going to save. No, first save the money and then spend whatever is left over. That is the formula. That is what the Investor Education and Protection Fund does. This is why the first word is called to educate the investors about the which markets? Capital markets. So what is the second purpose? To protect. What is the first word? Educate. What is the second word? Protect. To protect the interest of whom? To protect the interest of investors against malpractices. Against which practices? Malpractices. So if in the stock exchange or in the stock markets, the investor is getting any kind of difficulty, any kind of problem where his interest is on stake, then it is a responsibility of the Investors Education and Protection Fund to ensure that his interest must be protected against the malpractices. So they are going to protect whatever the amount will be incurred. The Investors Education and Protection Fund will do the needful to protect the interest of the investor. So point number 1, they will educate the investors about the capital markets and they will also protect the investors from the malpractices which are there in the capital markets. Are you getting the point? Sir, how they will spend, how do they educate and how do they protect? By conducting seminars, trainings, programs, big conferences, and for that they use the money which is there in this account, Investors Education and Protection Fund. Are you getting the point? So they are using this money not for their personal purpose. Central government is not using that money. Central government is using that money to educate the investors about the capital market wherever the need arises and to protect their interest in case they face any kind of difficulty in the capital market. This is what the purpose of IEPF authority. Who constituted? Central government. It's a which fund? Central government fund. So sir, if it is a central government fund, is it required to be audited or not? Who will do the audit? Audited by, tell me, you all might have guessed it so far, C&AG, Comptroller and Auditor General of India. So being a central government authority, we all know that all the central government, state government authorities will be or should be audited by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Everyone is clear or not? Now sir, can we claim our money? A rightful claimant. What is a provision? The provision name is known as rightful claimant. If you think that you are a rightful claimant, means what? I was in US for 8 years. After 8 years when I come, I asked the company. Company said that please check the unpaid unclaimed dividend. I checked their amount is already transferred to the Investors Education and Protection Fund. So can I claim my money from the Investors Education and Protection Authority? Answer is yes. If a person is a rightful claimant, sir, why you are using this word called again and again, rightful claimant, rightful claimant? Sir, rightful claimant means what? They don't know whether you are genuine person or not. They will do your KYC. They will do your know your customer. They will take your PAN, Aadhaar, and they will make sure that yes, you are a rightful claimant. If a person is a rightful claimant, he can file form number IEPF5. What is the form number? IEPF5 electronically. No physical form. He has to file an application form number in IEPF5 electronically to claim his money back. Money and securities back. So if you are a rightful claimant, by filing the form number IEPF5 electronically, you can claim your money and securities back. Now, what the IEPF authority will do? IEPF authority will forward the case, or you can say the application, to the company. After this, IEPF will forward the case or application to the company to do further investigation. To do the which investigation? Further investigation. So company has the records of that member, na? So that's why IEPF is sending this application to the company for doing the further. So will forward the case or application to the company. To the company. To do what? To do the further investigation and report. Company shall report it back to the IEPF within 15 days. Company shall report back. Company shall report back within 15 days. To whom? To the IEPF. If the IEPF is satisfied, if IEPF is satisfied, what will happen? If IEPF is satisfied, what will happen? Your funds and your securities both will be released. To whom? To the rightful, yes, you heard it right, to the rightful claimant. Now you can understand that I am writing each and everything in front of you. Each and everything live we are writing. That is what the habit you should have. If you really want to excel, if you really want to have the exemptions in the CA final, I got 5 exemptions in CA final. Can you imagine? CA final 5 exemptions in the auditing also. So if you really want to have the exemptions in the theory subject, you should have, or you should develop a habit of writing the subject. I am writing it for almost 10th or 12th time. And in the intermediate, I don't know how many times I have written. IPCC intermediate level. Did you get the point or not? If the IEPF is satisfied, funds and securities will be what? Released to the which claimant? Rightful claimant. This is what do you mean by section number 125. Shall we read it from the material now? Yes? Okay, sir. So let us read it from the material. whether we have covered almost everything or not. So this is our material which is already being provided to you, module number 1. So let us open the dividend provisions. We are done with corporate social responsibility, everything we are done with. Copy of financial statements to be filed with registrar, that also we are done with. Internal audit, that we'll do when we'll do the management and operational audit chapter. Now let us understand dividend other provision, unit 6, all this section number 123 to 127, dividend rules and all those things. Now see, dividend to be paid out of which profits? Current year profits after charging the depreciation of previous year profits after charging the depreciation. Depreciation to be charged as per schedule number 2. No dividend shall be declared or paid by the company in reserve other than the free reserves out of the money provided by the central government or state government. Now provided also that no company shall declare the dividend unless carried over previous year losses or depreciation not provided in the previous year or as set off against of the company for the current year as per the company's amendment 2015. I told you that lower of these two things will be adjusted, right? Now transfer to reserve. Did I tell you that if you are paying the dividend out of the current year profits, you have to transfer the amount to the free reserves? Yes, you have to transfer the amount to the free reserve. How much? It is a company's will. So company may transfer such percentage. Such percentage means what? Any percentage for the financial year as it may consider appropriate. As it may consider appropriate means what? It is company's wish whether they want to declare the dividend, whether they want to transfer the, how much they want to transfer to the dividend account. Our distribution of dividend out of reserves made for the accumulated profits to be in accordance with the such rules as may be prescribed in this behalf. Interim dividend, what I told you. Interim dividend, what I told you. Either the interim dividend can be paid out of the surplus in the profit and loss account from the opening balance or from the profits of the current year. Did I tell you that? Free reserves can be utilized or cannot be utilized? Cannot be utilized. Are you getting the point? Now, in case of losses in the current year, did I tell you one provision? The interim dividend rate shall not be more than average of last 3 years rate. Now, see, in case there are losses in the current financial year up to the end of the quarter immediately preceding the date of declaration of dividend, maximum rate of dividend to the average dividend declared during the immediately preceding 3 financial years. You cannot pay more than that. And this provision is not applicable to, I already told you, to whom? To the 100% government company. Unpaid and unclaimed dividend account and section number 125. So dividend not paid or claimed within 30 days to be within 7 days deposited in a scheduled bank called unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. In case of delay, interest at the rate of 12% per annum shall be payable to the members. Did I tell you that or not? Within 90 days of transfer, statement containing the name, their last known address, unpaid dividend to be made, and shall be published on the website of the company. The company's dividend may be paid by creating a members account. Amounts so transferred will be kept unpaid for the 7 years. So what is the validity of this account? 7 years. From the date of transfer, be transferred along with the interest to the Investors Education and Protection Fund. After 7 years, the amount will be transferred to the Investors Education and Protection Fund. Claimant can even subsequently claim his share after complying to the prescribed procedure. Statement of amount to be divided to Investors Education shall be filed in form number dividend rule number 5. I told you IPF 5, that is the form which you have to file electronically to IPF authority, right? What is the penalty? Did I tell you that if the company fails to make the payment of the dividend within 30 days, what is the penalty? Yes, every director of the company shall knowingly or party to the default 0 to 2 years up to 2 years imprisonment with fine up and 1000 rupees per day, and company is liable to pay the 18% per interest. No offense. When the company is not liable to pay the penalty, when the dividend could not be paid by the reason of operation of law, I already told you, where the shareholders are given the directions, but that direction cannot be fulfilled and company has communicated to him, where there is a dispute regarding the right to receive the dividend, where the dividend has been lawfully adjusted by the company against the sum due. All these points we have already covered in the written notes, where for any other reason the failure to pay the dividend is supposed the warrant within the period under this section was not due to any fault on the part of company. Now, did I tell you that if you are paying the dividend out of free reserves, what are the provisions you have? You have the 4 conditions to be satisfied. Tell me one by one. So, average rate of dividend in any case shall not be more than average of the rate of dividend to be offered shall not be more than average of last 3 years rate. Condition number 2. What is condition number 2? Tell me. Condition number 2 says that yes, the maximum amount to be withdrawn from the free reserve shall not exceed 10% or 1/10 of the total paid up share capital plus free reserve. Minimum amount to get kept in the free reserves after the withdrawal shall not be less than 15% of the total paid up share capital, and current year profits are required to be, current year losses are required to be adjusted. Now, point number 1, point number 2, point number 3, all these points are there in front of you. total amount withdrawn, all these points, current year, all those things, whichever is less. Now, did I tell you that if there are brought forward losses, how much brought forward losses you can adjust? Depreciation, no company shall declare the dividend unless the depreciation not provided in the previous year are set off against the profits of the company. Accumulated losses or depreciation loss, whichever is less in the previous year, is set off against the profits of the company for which the dividend is declared and paid. Everything is there in your notes. Don't worry at all. Now, what is the definition of dividend? I told you dividend includes the word called interim dividend. Dividend includes the word called interim dividend. What do you mean by free reserves? Free reserve means such reserve which as per the latest audited balance sheet are available for the distribution as a dividend. Any amount representing unrealized gains is not. These are not the free reserves. Any change in carrying amount is not the free reserves. They are telling that they shall not be treated as, you can see that they shall not be treated as what? Free reserves. Clear? So you just go through once with the definition of free reserves over there. Companies with the charitable objectives to prohibit the payment of any dividend to members. ये तो हमने company law में पढ़ लिया था already. This we have already understood in the company law that Section 8 company is prohibited to declare any kind of dividend to its member because it's a non-profit organization. Are you getting the point? Right? So dividend must be paid if so authorized by the articles in the proportion to the amount paid on each share. Bonus shares. The bonus shares shall not be issued in lieu of dividend. That we already know. Sir, this all we have done it in the previous company law provisions. If you had declared the dividend and you are unable to pay the dividend, you thought that let's issue the bonus shares. Can you issue? No, you can't issue the bonus shares in lieu of dividend. Preference shareholders have preferential rights to receive the dividend. Obviously, whenever the dividend will be declared, who will get the preference over whom? Preference shareholders will get the preference over the equity shareholders. Next one, company can issue shares with the differential dividend rights. Yes, that we have understood in our section number 43 in our company law, where we understood differential rights, equity shares with differential rights. Directors disqualification. Now remember one thing, if the company fails to pay the dividend for continuously 1 year, the directors present in that failure year will be disqualified under section 164 subsection 2, that you will understand in CA final directors topic. So till then, section number 164 says that dividend declared not paid for continuously 1 year shall be disqualified the directors from appointment. 123, no dividend to be declared in case any contravention concerning the public deposit. That I already told you, if you have done any kind of default in section number 73 to 76, in case of acceptance of public deposits, you are not allowed to pay the or declare the dividend. All these provisions relating to the depreciation I am leaving on you. Make sure that you are reading it at least once. You are reading it at least once. Major things I already told you. So make sure that just for your own purpose, you are reading it at once. Ascertainment of depreciation for computing the net profit for the purpose of manager remuneration, that is there in your CA final law, right? So this is what brings an end to the topic called dividend. This is what brings an end to the topic called dividend. So I think I made your expectations very much understandable. So what are the sections we covered? There is one section which is yet to be covered. So what are the sections we have already covered? Tell me, sir. We covered section number 123. We also covered section number 124. We covered section number 125. We covered section number 126. So let us cover one small section called section number 126. After that, our dividend topic will be completely over from my side. Now, there is one topic called audit of LLP, which we have included in this particular dividend chapter. So that will do when anywhere we'll find the time to do the LLP audit. So just like that, some topic, random topic has been added to your chapter called. So no worries about that. That is not at all concerned with the dividend topic. So that was not, no any other place was found over there. That's why it was inserted. So section number 126. Sir, what is section number 126? Keeping the dividend in abeyance. Keeping the dividend in abeyance. Now listen to this very carefully. Suppose A has transferred the shares to the B. So who is the transferor? Sir, A is the transferor. Who is the transferee? Sir, B is the transferee. So who sold the shares to whom? A sold the shares to the B. Now, what happened against B? Against B or against A? one case was going on in the court of law. Against B or against A, some case was going on in the court of law. So say for example, this whole transfer, due to that case, this whole transfer took approximately 120 days. Till the time title got clear, the whole transfer from A to B, surrendering the share certificate, cancelling the share certificate, issuing the new share certificates to B, transfer, each and every formality relating to the transfer took 120 days, because any one of the party was under the dispute in the court of law. So some litigations were pending, title was not clear, that's the reason 120 days it has been taken. Just an example, it is just an example, 120 days it took. Now what happened? During these 120 days, is there any possibility, during these 120 days, is there any possibility that dividend might have been declared? Yes, during these 120 days, dividend might have been declared. Say for example, dividend is declared for rupees 1 lakh. Dividend is declared for rupees 1 lakh. Now the question is whether the company should pay this dividend to B or not. Whether the company should pay this dividend to B or not. Answer is, sir, title is not clear so far. Ownership is not clear so far due to some pending suit. Due to some pending suits, the ownership is not clear and this amount is 1 lakh. Now what we should do? So till the time the title is not getting clear against the A or B, who is the rightful owner of this dividend, this amount shall be kept in abeyance. Now sir, still we didn't understand what is the meaning of the abeyance. Abeyance means this amount will be transferred to unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. It will be transferred to unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. Sir, why it is being transferred to unpaid and unclaimed dividend account? Till the time title or ownership of dividend rates of dividend is not clear. जब तक कंपनी को पता नहीं चलेगा कि A is the rightful owner or B is the rightful owner, till the time the case is pending for 120 days. Say for example, as per our example, the case was going on for 120 days. After that, company came to know that okay, B is the clear owner of this dividend. What the company will do? Till those 120 days, from the date of declaration till the title is being clear, what the company will do? Company will transfer this amount to the unpaid and unclaimed dividend account, and transferring the amount to the unpaid and unclaimed dividend account is known as keeping the dividend in abeyance. This is what do you mean by section number 126. Now let's come back to the report again, where I told you that I'll come back again so that you can understand why the Reliance India Limited was saying all that. Now let's come back to the report again. Can you see that? Yes. So there has been no delay in transferring the amounts required to be transferred to the Investors Education Fund by the company, except for rupees 1.51 crores of dividend. So what is this 1.51 crores of dividend? It is that dividend amount. It is that dividend amount which is held in abeyance. Abeyance means what? It is still held in unpaid and unclaimed dividend account due to the pending legal cases. Due to the pending legal cases. I hope everyone is crystal clear so far, whatever has been told to you. So with this, our section number 123 to section number 127 completely over. I hope I made your expectations justified and clear. So what is 123, guys? Payment of dividend. What is 124? Unpaid and unclaimed dividend account. What is 125? It is Investors Education and Protection Fund. What is 126? Keeping the dividend in abeyance till the time legal pending cases are not being clear. And what is 127? Penalty on the company in case, in case the company fails to pay the dividend within 30 days. So 123 to 127. All the sections of dividend topic is also over. So I hope all of you understood whatever is being told to you so far in this chapter called what? dividends. So thank you so much for lending your patient ears again. I'll again come up with another lecture. So now we are going to start with liabilities of an auditor. One small topic is there. One particular lecture is more than enough to justify the topic. After that, we'll do audit of CFS. After that, we'll do audit committee and corporate governance. After that, your module number 1 will be over. And after that, Caro we have already covered. After that, we'll jump into the module number 2, that is called professional ethics. After that, we'll jump to the module number 3, which is relating to the other special audit assignments, right? So thank you so much for listening to me and lending your patient ears. I'll borrow it again in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye everybody. Stay at home, stay safe.